weather alert from your Weather Authority.
Well, good morning. I'm meteorologist Josh Marces in the Forecast Center. Wanted to pass along the 2 a.m. update as far as Hurricane Laura, which did make landfall close to Cameron, Louisiana about an hour ago with maximum winds of 150 miles per hour. So with the latest advisories, this is now over land. We'll likely see these winds start to weaken here as we move through the morning. So the maximum winds back down to 140 miles per hour at this point. Lake Charles, Louisiana, out at the airport site, they just measured a wind gust over 130 miles an hour. Unfortunately, the radar site there has been knocked offline, but our radar site here in Shreveport is again working just fine. Hopefully that will be the case through the morning, but we are still expecting some significant impacts here as far as the Arklatex is concerned. As far as the overall track here, one of the trends we did see with the forecast starting yesterday afternoon was to shift it a little bit further to the east, but this is still going to have a major impact on all of this just because of the size of this storm is so large. So expecting it still will be a Category 2, Category 1 hurricane as it moves in south of I-20 this morning. Hurricane warnings in effect as far north as DeSoto and Red River parishes. The tropical storm warning goes all the way up into southern Arkansas, and even in the tropical storm warning here, we can see hurricane force wind gusts, which are over 75 miles per hour. Here's a look at the HRRR model. This is the one that updates every hour, so it has a pretty good handle on the atmospheric conditions as well as the position of the storm. Couple of things to point out here. One, these kind of outer bands that move in, these will be the ones that will carry a tornado threat for maybe a few hours this morning. And then the other thing I'll point out to you, the inner bands right here, again, the center of circulation just south of Sabine and Natchitoches Parish. It's that inner band, that inner eye wall that will typically cause the most wind damage, and we see that moving up into Sabine, Natchitoches parishes, maybe close to sunrise, so between 7 and 9 a.m. It looks like the worst of the weather will be from Natchitoches Parish over into Shelby County as well. Typically, the effects are most severe along just north and also to the northeast of the eye wall. So the way it's looking right now today, you can see Interstate 49 from Texarkana down through Shreveport. Worst of the weather will probably be off to the east of these locations, and that's where we can expect some widespread tree damage. You saw the worst of the winds through Shreveport right about noon today, give or take an hour, but we will see tropical storm force gust winds maybe over 30 miles per hour sustained for much of the day today, just because it is such a large storm. But the hurricane force winds, again, only lasting a short time. This takes us to 1 p.m. We see the storm pushing up into southern Arkansas. Even on the back side of it, we'll still have some gusty winds that will cause some damage, and we'll see such heavy rain today. Ground will be saturated, so it will make it a little bit easier for trees to be toppled by, say, let's even 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. So that is one of the things we're concerned about today. If at all possible, just stay inside as much as you can today, and again, stay away from trees if you are outside, and of course stay away from a vehicle as well. Here's a look at some of the anticipated wind gusts. This takes us to 5 a.m. We could already see some gusts upwards of 80 miles per hour here across the Toledo Bend region. So if you are in a mobile home, again, it will likely sustain significant damage with an 80 mile per hour wind gust. So we urge you to find a safer shelter. By about 9 a.m. this morning, winds gusting between 30 and 60 miles per hour across much of northwest Louisiana. If you're watching in Texarkana, you can see the winds picking up by the noon hour today, and we could see some of those wind gusts for several hours here, upwards of 50 miles per hour in Texarkana. If you think about the typical kind of thunderstorm that produces wind damage and power outages here in the Arklatex, often 40 to 60 mile per hour winds will do that, and we could see sustained winds in that range today with gusts, of course, over 70 miles per hour. So we expect the tree damage as well as power line damage will be fairly widespread today. We're hoping we can limit that across East Texas and Oklahoma, but time will tell. But again, don't let your guard down in those locations today, even though the worst of the impacts look to be across Louisiana and Arkansas. Flash flood watch in effect through tomorrow morning. We're expecting some heavy rain. Rain has already started south of Interstate 20, and I think Futurecast has a pretty good handle on what we've been telling you throughout the week. We can probably expect to see a good 4 to 7 inches of rain across much of the region here, so we will incur some flash flooding likely through the morning and afternoon as well. So we are expecting widespread power outages at this point, and because the damage here will be very widespread across the region, it may take a while for crews to get out and repair some of that. So we ask you to prepare for what may be several days without power in some areas, so make sure you have enough water, non-perishable foods as well, and there will be an isolated tornado threat, it looks like, here in the upcoming hours across Louisiana as well as Arkansas. We do have a tornado watch in effect until 8 a.m. this morning. Shelby County, Sabine Parish, as well as Natchitoches Parish. It is possible we could see this watch get extended to the north through the morning. So again, there is a narrow window here where we could see some tornadoes. Nothing too concerning. turning on radar right now, but it will be seeing those bands. There's Leesville, there's Natchitoches, there's Manny. You see those bands that are moving up from the south here. Eventually, in the next hour or two, we could see that tornado threat again open up. These are brief tornadoes, very hard to detect sometimes, but we'll be with you throughout the morning. Of course, we'll have the newscast coming up from 5 to 7 on NBC6 News. If the weather starts to go downhill before that, of course, we will bring you updates on air. We'll have multiple crews out in the field bringing you updates throughout the morning. Chief Meteorologist Todd Warren will come in. We'll likely be in continuous coverage at some point today as that weather starts to go downhill for us this morning. But I urge you, just stay inside and stay safe if possible, and stay with us here at NBC6 as we'll bring you updates throughout the day.
This is a severe weather alert from